Hey there, I'm Amy.connell. Welcome to Graced Health, the podcast for women who want simple and grace-filled ways to take care of themselves. I'm a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach who wants you to know your eating, movement, and body don't have to be perfect. You just need to be able to do what you're called to do. Okay, I'm going to say right off the bat that this episode feels, I don't know what the word is, a little self-serving maybe. If you have been listening, you may remember that on August 3rd, I announced that I was taking a mini sabbatical through the month of August. And just this past Tuesday, we resumed the podcast with that amazing episode with Morgan Adams on sleep. So if you haven't heard that, make sure you go listen to it. I have heard or received a lot of questions of like, how did the sabbatical go? Hope the sabbatical went well. Hope your time off went well. How was it? And all of that stuff, which was so kind and thoughtful for people to reach out. And I thought, I do appreciate sometimes when podcast hosts will close the loop on something. So they'll say they're doing something, and then I presume they do it, and then I don't really ever hear it. And I'm like, well, how did it go? What happened? So I thought I would just come on here with a quick bonus episode and let you know. So if you're like, if the mini sabbatical was not interesting to you, if you're not interested in doing that for yourself, this is just go ahead and you can just stop this and you can listen to the next one on Tuesday with Natalie Gerardo and magnesium, because I'm telling you that one too is phenomenal. All of the seasons, honestly, are really, really good. I'm super excited for them. So if this is not interesting to you, it's not going to hurt my feelings if you don't listen. But I thought I would just come on and close that loop on how the mini sabbatical went. So what I'm going to do is kind of go back to the goals that I referenced in that episode, which you can certainly go back and listen to if you want. And then I'm going to grade myself because this is something that I did, I've done a couple times. So I'm just going to grade myself on this. So the first thing that I did was I said, I wanted to begin with the end in mind. So I went through and said, how do I want the end of August to look in my body, my soul, and my spirit? So let's just kind of jump right into that. My body, my goal was to do strictly either mind-body movements like yoga or Pilates to increase my connective tissue care, which I have an episode with Sue Hitzman coming out on September 27th about fascia and connective tissue. And she just really lit my fire to make sure that I was doing that more. To do Be Complete, which is that online on-demand class that, yes, I do too. Like I do this, I look at my notes, and I do the workouts because I believe in it so much. And by the way, I've heard a lot of wonderful feedback from people. So thank you for that. You can get that at gracedhealth.com/B, just the letter B, -complete. And prices are probably going up soon. So if you want to grab that before prices go up, make sure you do that. It's just a nice compliment to how you like to move. Also, I wanted to walk. So I was kind of taking down the strength training, taking down the high intensity workouts, and really focusing on that mind body stuff. I'm going to grade myself an A- in this. Why? Because I did add on a few track workouts. I just really like those. And I know that's super twisted, but I love that feeling of going out, working as hard as I can, hands on the knees, bent over, breathing really hard. So I did that twice, maybe 3 times during August. And I'm not going to apologize for it, but I think if I'm honest, then that means I have to pull my grade down a little bit. That's a negative grade, but it was good for, I wanted to do it. That was just something I wanted to do. Now, the interesting thing that I noticed when I took out the strength training, took out some of that intentional stuff, is I had some flare-ups kind of come back, which was unexpected and surprising. So this is not formally diagnosed, but I have a self-diagnosed hamstring tendinopathy. So that is the tendon that connects your hamstring up into your that bottom bone of your pelvis. I injured it a long time ago, and I've kind of been able to manage it. The biggest time that I really feel feel pain in there is when I'm stretching my hamstring, and it's like the hamstring doesn't hurt. It's just right up there in that connecting point. Again, this is not a medical diagnosis, which, by the way, don't do as I do as I say. Go get things checked out. I'm just not very good about that sometimes. But anyway, when I wasn't strengthening, I wasn't doing my glute bridges, I wasn't doing my pelvic floor conditioning muscles that I got from the girls at Tighten Your Tinkler, also episode, I can link that as well. But when I wasn't strengthening that, what I found was it was flaring up. It was hurting more. It was bothering me on a more continual basis rather than when I am strength training. So I think it's a good reminder that sometimes we do things because we want that overall function. We want to feel well. And while I was kind of burnt out on strength training, and I don't apologize and I don't regret not doing it, it's good for me to remember that I will feel better overall when I continue to strength train. And then, of course, another side of that effect of that is I did lose some muscle mass. Is that a huge deal? Not really. That of course does affect some other things, including strength, including my ability to jump back in, as I've experienced the first week or two of September. And then, of course, that does impact your metabolic rate, which is neither here nor there, but it's something to remember. Okay, so overall grade for the body is an A-. Now, what about my mind? So my goal was a couple different things. One of them was to declutter some specific areas. So it was my laundry room, my desktop, and my inbox. I am happy to say I did all of that. And currently, I think back then I had 1,900 and plus unread emails, and I'm looking right now and it says 5. And this morning, I've been getting it to 0. I just don't totally stay on top of email all throughout the day. So I kind of go in and take care of things. As a bonus, I also decluttered my makeup drawer, and I have had just a heck of a time finding lipstick, like the right lipstick color. So I have a lot of lipsticks that I bought, and too bright, too light, too dark, all of that kind of stuff. And I finally decided, you know what? I'm not going to use these. And I significantly decluttered that makeup drawer. And I tell you what, it's amazing. It feels so good to just have the things that I use. And do I have all of the options? No, but that's okay. And then I also cleaned out my hairbrush drawer and all of that kind of stuff. So that was good. So A+ on that part. Okay. Catching up with friends. That was another thing I was wanting to do. And I will say I give myself an A+ on this. I had a list of people I was really wanting to touch base with, to connect with, either through walks or lunches or, happy hours or whatever. And I was able to do that. And as a bonus, this is why I'm giving myself a plus. As a bonus, a few friends of mine took a last minute trip to visit my friend Barbara Allen in Los Angeles. She just recently moved there. And so we just jumped on a plane and went over to visit her. And you met Barbara. If you've been with me a while, this was way back in season 1 bonus. It was how to have a revelation partner. So I'll link to that if you are interested. But that was a super fun way to end August, which technically was September because it was Labor Day weekend. But I'm just going to put that in there. I can give myself bonus points. Okay. All right. Okay. The next thing was to read 2 delightful books. I read a lot. However, I only found one that kind of met that qualification, which admittedly is pretty objective, of a delightful book. So I cannot find the person, and I really, really wish I could give you credit for recommending it, but Finley Donovan is killing it. That was a delightful book. That was just fun to read, and I really enjoyed it. And apparently it's a part of a series, so I might go read the second one at some point. I did read a lot of other books in there. I read, ironically, it's called Not a Happy Family by Shari LaPena. And I told my husband that. He said, that does not sound delightful. And I said, well, it's not. It's just not. But it was an interesting read. I read One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm a big fan of her stuff. That was not my favorite of hers, but I do really, really like her writing. I read Wish You Were Here by Jodi Picoult. That one, well, I feel like I can't even talk about it, but she's an interesting writer. This is not like her normal type of writing. And then I read French Braid by Ann Tyler. Not delightful. That one was fine. And then I'm about to finish Killers of the Flower Moon by David Grann, which was really interesting to me because as a born and raised Oklahoman, I had never really heard of these Osage murders and this trial. And apparently now it's going to be a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and all these things. So anyway, that's a nonfiction book, but it was very interesting, a very interesting story. It reads like a research paper, so it's not super emotional. However, it's definitely worth my time to read. So because I only got to one delightful book, but I did get others, I'm giving myself a B+. Okay, now for the soul. My goals for soul were threefold. One of them was sitting outside with God 4 times a week for my be still time. And if that sounds interesting to you, or if you're curious about it, you can learn about that over on the Graced Health community Facebook group. And we are going to have a be still challenge in the September, the week, it's just 5 days, September 26th, where we're just sitting outside with God, like 10 minutes, just being in the presence of God, not with a whole bunch of praises and prayers, but just being in his presence. And of course, that is a direct point to the be still and know I am God. So that is a challenge. I really enjoyed it. Did I do it 4 times a week, every week? No, because you know what it was? The sunrise changed. So, which sounds super weird, but I was able to do that when the sun was coming up. And I don't really like doing that in the mornings, and just with my schedule and then school starting for my younger one and all of that kind of stuff, I just didn't really get in the habit of that for one of the weeks, but I still enjoy doing it. And I've been trying to keep that up. During my quiet time, I wanted to start into some more studies, some more concerted efforts. And I started and finished the Habakkuk study by the Daily Grace Company. And I'm currently in Amen, which is more of like the story of the Bible. So I am in those. Am I perfect about like filling out every little section? No, but you know, we just do what we can, right? We just do what we can. And then the final thing was I wanted to allow myself, I was kind of putting up some boundaries with my time. So that way I could allow myself to experience the emotions surrounding my older son leaving for college. So just for whatever it's worth, he is doing really well. He's super happy. He has an amazing roommate, like such a blessing. He has gotten tapped into church and a couple like mentor small group people, which is just like it. I can't even tell you how happy that makes me. But so he's doing well. And how did I do with my emotions? Oh, if we're going to say that allowing myself to experience emotions is a good thing, then I'm going to give myself an A+. I think I cried almost every day for about 10 days, not like sobbing, but just tearing up because people would ask me, or my son left really early. And so then I was reaching out to friends who I knew their kids were leaving, and they were like, it's so hard. And I'm like, I know. And so we're all grieving together over text or over the phone or whatever. But that's what I wanted to be able to do. I didn't want to have to stuff everything down and just be able to put on a chipper face while I'm doing a podcast interview. So I'm really glad that I left myself to do that. The other thing that I mentioned is I just wanted to be able to have enough blank space on my planner and my calendar that I would just wander around the house not knowing what to do. And for that, I'm going to give myself a D because I think I did that like once. I was like, what am I going to do? Now, some of that's because I sat down and I read, and I did fill my space, not with work, but with other things that I wanted to do. I'm just not very good at just wandering and not doing anything, which I knew that was going to be a tough sell. But that is how my mini sabbatical went. I definitely hope to do something similar again at some point. how vague is that? I'll definitely take a couple weeks off over the holidays and probably over the summer as well. I'm definitely, I feel refreshed, which was the goal. I feel rejuvenated. I'm ready to get back. I've been excited to share some of the new graphics and logos and some of that marketing stuff that is really fun for me to do. So I enjoyed it. Thanks for your patience with me. Really make sure that you are following, which is formerly known as subscribing, this episode or this podcast if you have not yet, because we have just some phenomenal episodes coming up. And in fact, because I recorded a lot of these like earlier in the summer, I was able to implement some of that stuff on my own during that time off. So for example, I would get outside and my whole family, we're like, light therapy, let's get out, in the evening when the sun is setting. So all of the little things that I've been learning from Morgan Adams and some products and tools that I learned from Natalie Gerardo, who's coming up on magnesium, Sue Hitzman with the connective tissue. There's just so many episodes that I have preemptively been telling my friends like, hey, you really need to listen to this, or I learned this and here's a resource. Here is something to help you, and episode is coming, but I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So I've been doing that with a handful of my friends, but that is how the mini sabbatical went. I will do it again. I'm not sure when. And I hope that you have been able to take your own mini sabbaticals, whether it's just a Saturday afternoon or maybe a day or whatever the time that works for you. And I hope that you will come back refreshed and rejuvenated. Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.